Hello, Whiskey Pilgrims. Welcome to Whiskey Whistle. I'm your host, Mark, and you're watching Whiskey Review number 70. I think I forgot to mention which number of review it was the last couple of reviews. Anyway, so number 70. Today we are going back to USA, back to Kentucky, to try out 1792 small batch. This is a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. Straight bourbon whiskey. And it is a whopping 93.5 proof, or 46.85% alcohol by volume. Apparently this has been aged for a minimum of 8 years, which is quite long for bourbon, and also very, very high proof, which is nice. Elegant bottle too. Look at this thing. This looks like almost like a decanter. It's also got a cork, which is nice, and kind of an Art Deco style of Roman numerals. Greek. Anyway, regular numbers. Not. Well. Anyway, 1792. Look at that. It's beautiful, isn't it? Now I forgot a glass. Let me just get a glass. I can't believe I forgot that. One moment, please. Okay, got the glass. Didn't nudge anything. Nope. Glencairn glasses, also great for bourbon. If you do like your bourbon on the rocks, use the largest ice you can, or the most ice you can put in your glass. That way it slows down the melting rate. Okay, so 1792 small batch Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. Let's get that poured. Now, didn't that sound nice? This is how I wish all of my bottles sounded when I uncorked it. Anyway. Now, one thing, the cork actually not quite tight enough for this bottle. Look at that color. My goodness. How dark is that? This is beyond copper. It's almost got a reddish hue to it, doesn't it? There we are. Let's have a look at that. That is like a red amber. One of the darkest ambers you'll find. Probably with an ant, suspended in animation within the slow-moving tree sap that gets fossilized. Okay, we'll let that sit just for a little bit. 8 years old, we should probably leave it for 8 minutes in the glass. If it were 10 years old, you may want to leave it for 10 minutes in the glass before you try it. About a minute for every year. Okay, we'll talk about the this brand. So 1792 small batch Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. I mentioned the proof and the alcohol volume. This is made with a high rye recipe. I couldn't find out exactly what proportion of rye. If you do know, please leave a comment. And they're also using a sweet mash. What's a sweet mash? It looks as though they cook the mash for about 20 minutes before, I believe, drying the grains. They cook the grains in water for 20 minutes before drying them, which gives a sweeter mash than just taking the dried grains and just sticking them in the water and carrying on with distillation. Okay, so sweet mash. And another interesting thing, there's a gentleman you'll see here strolling through here on the iPad, and his name is Ken Pierce. And in fact, just this week, he has retired. There he is. So Ken Pierce, congratulations on your retirement after 30 years in the industry. And what a great job you've done with this one. Anyway, so this was originally known as the Barton 1792 Distillery, and it was established in 1879. It looks as though it is now under the Sazerac. I think that's how you say that. The Sazerac group. So hopefully they keep up the good work with this one. Anything else? I think that's pretty much it. You'll see the distillery, photos of the distillery rolling through there, as well as the storation methods. So there's the distillery, a faraway shot, and there's a close-up. Anyway, you can watch that. Okay, let's get on to the nosing and the tasting for 1792 small batch. Okay, before we smell it, there will be a short, very short, extremely short advertisement right there. Welcome back. So let's give this a whiff, shall we? Now, 8 years old, that's very, very, very old in terms of bourbon. A lot of brands, they'll bottle their bourbon at 3, 4, 5, and 6 years. So 8 years, an extra 2 years, possibly double the length, double the maturation of most straight bourbon whiskey. So interesting. And yet it is not overpoweringly oaky. It's got a very fruity nose to it. Lots of spice as well, as you would expect with a bourbon. I wrote here that it's herbal, oak, but not overpoweringly so. And the fruit, ripe peaches, along with the peach stones, and of course the vanilla, coming from that American white oak casks. Okay, let's give that a try. Cheers, everyone, and congratulations again to Ken Pierce. Some other bourbon brands that I have tried of late just smack you in the face with that oaky, strong vanilla, strong spice sorts of flavors. This one begins very subtly, and I write here that it's spicy. Cinnamon, rosemary, mint, as well as caraway. And it's not too sweet, and yet quite dry. The finish, you've got your vanilla spice. Something, a little bit of a licorice note comes through. And a little bit floral. So kind of like Thrill's gum. If you are a single malt Scotch whiskey drinker, this might be something you should try just to know what really, really good bourbon tastes like. Because this is really, really good bourbon. Now we'll add some water. You can be pretty liberal with this one. So I will add a very, very full little coffee spoon amount in there. So that's going to be 3 or 3.5 milliliters. There we go. in my opinion, this whiskey should be doing better than it is. I don't know what the North American price point is for 1792 small batch. I should have looked at it. Here in Korea, I think it was roughly 60,000 won, so about $55 US. So not very expensive. Excuse me. Oh my goodness, pardon me. Well, so with water, let's see what happens. Let's see. We should smell it first, shouldn't we? You know what? This needs just a tad more water. There we go. Sometimes when you first put water into your whiskey, you will be greeted with a very alcoholic, very strong smell of alcohol coming off, which is what just happened there. So I added a bit more. Okay, well, while we wait for this to kind of do its thing, we'll just put another advertisement right there. Thank you for tuning back in. Okay, so with water, there's still that very, really spicy undercurrent still coming through there. And yet I'm getting a little bit more fruit. Caramel is developing. And interestingly enough, along with kind of a caramel note, but also cigar box. So an empty wooden cigar box. It's got a little bit of that tobacco scent, along with the cedar. Bit of coffee too. Very, very nice. Okay, we'll try that with water now. Kanbei. Much sweeter again. And what I wrote here, this becomes a sweet treat. Full of vanilla. Peaches. Let's see. Still quite dry. Peaches, full of vanilla. And the finish, though it's dry, there's still a big dollop of vanilla left within my mouth. Of course, cinnamon and a little bit of mint. Well, I'm not sure if you can gauge the delight that I'm taking in tasting this one, but this would happen to be my favorite bourbon, and I'm going to give it 91 out of 100. That is the WhiskyWhistle whiskey score for 1792 small batch Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey from USA. And I wrote here, My favorite bourbon so far. It's great neat and also with water. And I think for the price you pay, you're getting quite a lot here. Let's give it one more taste just before we sign off here. Still dry, and yet the cigar flavor is coming through now. Anyway, just lovely. 91 out of 100. Thank you for tuning in. If you have watched this for the first time, thank you so much. Why not subscribe? You can do so by clicking right down there in the corner, right here. And for my returning subscribers, thank you so much for all of the encouragement, for all of the time you spend helping me with WhiskyWhistle. In fact, we have surpassed 210 subscribers, and we've surpassed 11,000 views. So things are really, really heating up, and I really appreciate that. And I'm hoping very soon that I may be able to take some of the revenue generated and get a very special bottle to review. So more on that soon. Until now, all of the bottles, with the exception of, I believe, 2, have been 100%, no, 3, 100% purchased with my own money earned from my regular job here in Seoul, South Korea. Okay? So at that point in time when I can get something real special, I will let you know, and I will thank you, and there will be some interesting things happening here, okay? So thanks again, and we'll see you next time.